Yes, any questions still here?
In the name column,
Mm-hmm.
parameter block, you are again calling the function called copy index.
Correct.
Is it act like a child item function or?
This one, it's not really a child item. In ARM, you can call multiple functions at a go. So what I'm doing is that I'm calling this particular function, but I'm telling this function needs to be combined with something known as an iteration. That's the reason I'm calling, let's say, that particular copy index function. So it's just like calling a for each loop.
Function is function
Exactly. It's just like calling a for each loop and then telling what is the condition of that particular for each loop out there. And if you look at this one, let's go back here into our deployment. And now it's done the deployment. 3 different storage accounts got created, 3 different names, but same properties still. I'll still not, let's say, discuss about the properties out here. These are, let's say, in ECS2 only. And if you go into the storage account, they will be in LRSS only. Yes, any questions? Anyone, any questions still here?
Different names at a time, same name, same location taken.
Yes, it is taken the same location. Change the location, then you also have to iterate the location as well, which we'll talk about on how do you iterate the location. I'll tell a better way. 3 different names, 3 different locations, 3 different SKUs, one in LRS, one in GRS, the other in RAGRS, depending upon the requirement. We can also do that. I'll also show that. But before I move forward, any questions with these 2 templates that we were discussing?
Yes, we are creating always a new resource group. What if we want to do this in a existing resource group?
Simple. Just go back. And if you say deploy the existing template, now the reason that I'm doing new resource groups is because I just
Mhm.
want to separate the demo out there.
Yeah, yeah.
But if you, let's say, go ahead and say save this out, if you want an existing, click on the drop down, select an existing, and
Okay,
deploy it
okay,
out in the existing resource.
okay. Good. Oh, yeah.
Right? You don't have to, let's say, create a new resource group every time out there. Yes. Any more questions?
Yeah, sir, can you explain me when to use square brackets? So yesterday
See,
you
square.
told that the square brackets in the quotes it should be called parameters, right?
It is no square brackets in the code. I did not tell it is parameters. I said it is a function. So
Function.
when you say it's a function, that function can be parameters, copy index, variables, anything out there. So if you want to call something, like I want to call a copy or copy function out here, I use a square bracket. And if I'm not, let's say, using the square bracket inside the quotes, that becomes an array list. It becomes now an array. So if you go back here, I use the square bracket here as well, but I didn't declare any square brackets. Sorry, I didn't declare any quotes out here. But here I used a quote. I'm calling a function, and within a function, I'm again calling one more function out here. This is how I'm going ahead and, let's say, calling this out. So square brackets is to call any function, copy index,
Every
parameters, whatever it is, you can call that particular function out there.
okay, thank
Yes. Any more questions?
Can we remove copy index here? Because we are
If I
mentioning
remove copy
the
index here,
names.
right? If I remove copy index here, then how will this know to iterate over this array? The problem is that you have given, let's say, multiple names, correct? But it's just like doing new hyphen az account and then hyphen giving all the names at one go. It will fail. Reason being, your template is not smart enough to understand that yes, I need to iterate on top of all these things without having the copy index into picture. You would definitely require a copy index because copy index here works like a for each loop mechanism, an iteration mechanism, so that the template can first go ahead, pick up the first name, create the account, pick up the second name, create the account, pick up the third name, then create the account, and then finally exit out from, let's say, the operation out there. Does that answer your question?
Yes, yes, thank you.
Yes, any more questions with, let's say, the example
Uh,
one and the
I
example two?
can.
Go ahead, please.
Yeah, actually now we deployed three resources storage account.
Mhm.
Uh, Now if you want to create, if you want to add one more resource, so
Mhm.
should I redeploy?
Yes, you can redeploy this. For example, if I just take this
Then
out,
the
hmm,
existing, whatever the modifications we did, existing resources,
hmm,
then that should be gone, right?
why will it be gone? Since ARM template is an incremental in nature, that's what I was telling. Is just go ahead, check all these three resources if the properties exist or not, create the fourth resource out there for you. Simple. I'll just go back again and to say deploy a template out here. Say build my own template, go to the file. I'll say save this out. I'll take this particular different names resource group. I'll say create and I'll say create this out. Now the three storage accounts, I have not changed any property at all. I'll just go ahead, see that okay fine. Are the storage accounts matching with the template? Yes, I won't even touch them. I will create rather the fourth storage account for you. It just go ahead deploy what is not there. That's how ARM template will kind of work. So if you look at this one, it's not recreating something. It checked all these things. See, in a second it went ahead, checked all these things out, and it's now creating the fourth one out here. Does this answer your question?
Yes, Kiran, I mean, whatever the blobs we are storing existing resource groups, so that will be as it is.
Intact. Yes, they will be as it is.
Okay, Kiran, thank you.
Yes. Any more questions with this, guys? Now, did anyone not follow example one or example two? Anyone who did not follow it? Are we comfortable with this one? Are you okay here? Till here, are we okay? Okay, so let's move to example 3 then, wherein I want three different storage accounts, three different locations, three different SKUs. I need all multiple properties out here, different out there. Let's also do that. Let's say ARM and again open up a new template. In the resources, I'll start with the resource. I'll write my resource block, which is ARM hyphen storage, and in the parameters, I will say a new parameter which is called storage account properties. This can be anything. I'm just giving up, let's say, a particular name, telling that these are all storage account properties out here. And in here, I will say this is an array. In the default values, again, this is an array here. And I will here open up multiple objects because I'm just not defining a simple string. I'm defining an object which has certain properties like name, SKU, and all that stuff. So inside this, I'll open up a quote and I'll say name is dev arm advance adv copy something like this abc000, the name of my storage account, comma, location, say east us2, comma, SKU, I'll do standard underscore LRS. This is for the first team inside the same array, comma, open up another object, simply copy the same properties out here. I will now say it is QA. I'll say this is West US and say this is GRS. If I want the third team, I'll just copy this out. I'll say this is Devops. I'll say some different property like North Europe. And I probably will say it is RAGRS. Getting this? Getting how am I declaring the object? See, very simple. This is something that I already did when we were doing that JSON file handling, where we were declaring multiple objects out there. I declared the same thing out there, but I'm not using a PowerShell this time. I'm directly trying to, let's say, approach it using my, let's say, ARM functions and all these things out. And here, under the name, I'll take out the name. I'll call a function called parameters storage account properties copy index. And this time around, I need to tell my copy index what is the property you need to look at. This is a name. So I need to pass in the name here, telling telling name is, let's say, dev for the first time, geo for the second time, devops for the third time. So what I'll do, I'll say copy index, and after the function is done, I'll say dot name. I'm saying don't iterate over the entire loop, iterate over one of the properties of the loop called name. After this, I'll declare my copy value, and I'll say the name of the copy, something like advanced copy. The count here, and I'll say it is length of parameters storage account properties. The name, yes, can give any name. Can give any name, not a problem. This is just for template to understand what is the name of the copy out there. So you can give any name out there, not a problem. So what I'm doing here is from an earlier example, I did just a copy index. In this example, I'm putting a dot and I'm telling what is the name. Now for the location, this is resource group dot location, so it will end up creating only one location every time out there. So I'll change sorry, I'll change this, and I'll again say parameters storage account properties. This is the only property that I have. Copy index dot location. And finally, same thing but SKU. Say parameters storage account properties copy index dot SKU. Because I have three different properties out here called location, name, and SKU. I'm iterating over all these properties using this particular, let's say, section called copy index out here. Now the question is that do you have to declare multiple copies? No. All you need is just one copy block, and this will take care of your entire template out here. Wherever you declare it, not a problem. You just need to have a copy out here. And finally, I'll just take this out and I'll say this is standard. So this is the entire property block, which is an array which contains all my resources configuration like dev, QA, and etc. And tomorrow, if I have a new team, I'll just copy this block, paste one more, let's say, section out here telling it is HR team out here, which needs an account out there. And this remains the same. So it is copy index.name, copy index.location, copy index.sku. Copy is just the length of this particular properties. The length of the property is 3 blocks. So it is 3. So 1, 2, and 3. The length of this entire property block out here. This is what I am now getting here and pasting it here. Now if I just save this out as advanced copy and save this out as a JSON file, let me go back into my portal. I'll say deploy. I'll say build your own template, load this file, advanced copy, open this out. I'll say save this out, and I'm creating a new resource group because it's easy for me to, let's say, demonstrate it out. So I'm saying advanced copy, and I'll say review and create this out here. This will end up giving me 3 different storage accounts with 3 different properties like locations and also the SKU with different names as well. This is how you can use the copy index in different modes out here. So this was the very simplest form of copy. The first thing that we started with, saying just a copy index. After that, we tweaked it a little, said it is length of array. This is something that we came in. Now we are tweaking it even more, and we're using this particular copy everywhere in our template. And I'm creating all these things out of this particular properties that are passed. And now if I look at this particular deployment, again the way copy works is parallelly. It's parallelly creating all these three resources or all these three storage accounts with different properties out there in different locations out there and etc. We can also inspect it once this is done deployment. We can also see how it created and all these things out here. Is any questions still here? Good, please. Yes, please. Go ahead. Mhm. Not really. You will have many resource groups for the project out there. For example, so you can have a resource group for dev, for QA, individual resource groups out there. Or normally in a project, what do we do is that we categorize the resource group depending upon the resource type that you create. Meaning, storage accounts, SQL servers, and all can sit in a particular resource group. Data. You can have virtual machines, app services, and all sitting in a different resource group called app resource groups, and etc. So the classification can be done either depending upon the team or depending upon the resource type. One resource type can be sitting in one particular, let's say, resource groups out there. Again, if you look at this one, I'll just go into the resource group. Mhm. Yes. I didn't get you. Can you please come again, please? Okay. Okay. The resource groups are okay. 10. Okay. 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 You can add. So what's the problem in there? I mean, you can do that. I mean, you can do that. So was that your question? Can we do it or not? You can do that. You can do that. Yes. But how do you do that? That matters. Do you do that from, let's say, a PowerShell Terraform? How do you do that? That, let's say, matters. Okay. And if you look at this one, it looks like it created ECS. Uh, Again, it depends upon the amount of knowledge that we have on a particular, let's say, technology out there. Let's say, for example, for me, PowerShell looks very easier because I do a lot of PowerShell. I do a lot of, let's say, Linux scriptings and etc. So for me, PowerShell looks easier. For me, Terraform looks a little tougher because I don't use Terraform a lot, because I don't touch Terraform a lot out there. ARM looks like a cakewalk for me because I use ARM because I come from an ARM background. I've been using ARM since like decades. So I know ARM, let's say, by its, let's say, soul and brain. So I know that. So just compared to PowerShell, ARM is easy. Compared to ARM, Terraform is much more easier. Terraform is like the easiest of, let's say, the declarative scripting languages that you do have out there. But anything needs some time to, let's say, spend on, because each and everything has a lot of exhaustive documentation. You have to look at the documentation, take some examples out there, and kind of create those, and try to see how that works out there, etc. Yes, any questions to you? Anyone? Any more questions to you? But if you were to ask me again, do I need to learn PowerShell? I would say definitely do learn PowerShell. Because see, guys, what is happening these days is that, see, we are moving towards Dockers, Kubernetes, and all these, let's say, concepts out there. If you look at the market, right, the market is heavily tilted towards Dockers, Kubernetes, and all these concepts that are coming out there. Now, all these Dockers, Kubernetes, and these technologies, right, they run on underlying Linux platforms. And if you want to interact with the Linux platform, you need a bash scripting language. PowerShell makes it easier for you to learn that particular language out there. It will become very easy, meaning any, let's say, type of role that you choose in IT, any role, even let's say you're a tester, you need to do some kind of a Java programming. So you need to do some kind of a scripting or some kind of, let's say, automation in any role that you perform. That is how the demand of the industry is there today. Again, if you want to learn PowerShell, it doesn't take a lot of time. You just need to spend around 1 or 2 hours per day, understand what the language really is about from a very basic level. If you are able to follow it on a very basic level, you'll be able to, let's say, easily, let's say, implement the same thing out there. So I would suggest you all to, let's say, do that, because you'll you'll tend to forget it very easily. It's very volatile. You tend to forget it very easily out there. Yes, any questions online, guys? I'm talking something out here.
Hi,
Shiva, do you
Kiran.
have a question?
Yeah.
Good, please.
In the script, what is the difference between the JSON and ARM? Actually, these type of parameters you have used in that JSON.
See,
What is
ARM
the
is a
different here?
language. Now, ARM is a language that uses JSON underneath. This is simply JSON, but not a pure JSON language. They have clubbed it with, let's say, their own syntaxes, and we are calling it as Azure Resource Manager template, which runs on JSON, which primarily runs
Okay.
on JSON.
Okay.
Okay, in real times also we use script, or we use like this script or different. It just depends upon what exactly is your requirement out here. It just depends upon the requirement that you use. And Maharshi is asking, can copy be parameterized? Definitely, yes. Copy also can be parameterized. You can use a parameter for copy so that you can change that particular number at any given point in time. You can pass it as a parameter, meaning in the first script, I pass this as number 3, right? Can I use a parameter here? Definitely, yes. You can say new parameter count. The type here is not a string, but this is now an integer, int. And here I can come down, and instead of 3, I can say it is parameters count. You can parameterize this as well. Yes, any more questions, guys? Anyone online, offline? Any questions out here? Anyone, any questions?
Kiran, one question. I mean, regarding if you are like little familiar with Bash or in
Okay,
Linux machines also, can we
okay.
do the same like
Yes,
without
you
using
can.
PowerShell?
Yes, you can do that. If you are familiar with Bash, there
Mm-hmm.
is a Bash version of PowerShell called CLI, Azure CLI, command line interface, which is all
Mm-hmm.
working, or which is, let's say, working, let's say, similar to something called Bash scripting out there. So yes, you
Okay.
can do a Bash also, meaning you can save your SH scripts, shell scripts, right? .sh,
Yeah,
and you
yeah.
can run those as well.
Okay.
Hi, Kiran.
Just a second, just a second, guys. Only just give me a quick second out here. It's for a DevOps. No, definitely not. This is a very simple resource that we are looking at. As a DevOps engineer, you probably, let's say, will work with resources like storage accounts, virtual machines, function apps, let's say, app services, let's say, app monitoring and all these things, and also DevOps tools as well. So for a DevOps engineer, storage account is just a beginning. That's it. This is just where we are beginning out there. That's it. So you have more resources that are coming through. That is DevOps technology. GitHub and all, that is DevOps side of things. On Azure side of things as well, you'll have to, let's say, learn resources like virtual machines, networking, and all these things out here. Storage account, I mean, I'm just giving you examples. There are about 200 resources in the Azure portal. There are about 200 likes to, based upon the project requirement, you can just learn that particular resource out there. Yes, someone online had a question. I'll just take one quick one.
Hi, Kiran. Actually, in environment to environment, ARM template is
Can
it
we,
different or
when you say environment to environment, what exactly you mean? Can you please elaborate on that? I'm sorry.
like we may have dev test prod, right? So maybe
Yes,
parameters may differ.
correct. So that's the reason I'm
And
parameterizing this out. Yes, go ahead, please.
yeah, yeah.
So that's the reason I'm parameterizing this out. So what I'm telling is that we can use only one template with parameters declared, and you can pass multiple values or different values per an environment. Meaning for dev, you can pass a value called standard LRS. For prod, you can pass a value called, let's say, standard RAGRS and all these things out, and create unique resources there. So one base template is good enough for all let's say all the environments that you know. And someone else is asking, can we create a VM, VN? Yes, you can create all these things. What is the configuration part? Firstly, we'll have to think about how was the resource, and then we'll talk about the configuration part of it.
Hi,
All right,
hi,
so
Kiran.
that's it.
Kiran,
Yeah, Santu,
Kiran.
go ahead, please. Go ahead, please.
Yeah, the thing is that what is my question is that we can create a VM, we can create a virtual network
Mm-hmm.
while using the Azure portal. But here, when it
Correct.
comes to the ARM portal, the configuration
Uh-huh.
part is totally different. While doing the configuration part in Azure portal, we have to select the manually. But in the
Okay,
ARM template, how can we select view this script in this configuration
that's
part
what
is very different, right?
yes, that's
Yeah,
what I was coming down to. Is that to explain that, I'll first explain what is a virtual machine to everyone so that everyone can follow it. And then I'll also explain how do you create an ARM template for virtual machine and what are the parameters that you need to consider there.
thank you.
All right, so I'm a little top of the hour, so I'll just close the session right now. And guys, one important thing is that see from tomorrow we'll be going into networking part of let's say our course. And networking, any cloud, let's say you go with any work with any cloud, networking is like a backbone. So please do not miss classes from tomorrow. Networking will become very, very important, very crucial for you to understand what cloud is really. So we'll start with networking tomorrow and we'll do theory and then come to automation. So it'll be a combination of theory, automation, and all these things. So ARM PowerShell is not yet over. We just began with it. So we'll do a lot of assignments going forward. I'll give you a lot of assignments and also give you a solution for the assignments. So please try that out. But from tomorrow, please do not miss the classes. Please, I mean, even if you're missing it out, please to take the recording and go through the recording out there so that you don't miss that particular day. Okay. Thanks, guys, and have a good day. Thank you.